right, there we go. Nepal, first in the house tonight. Colorado High Country, Dave Kerr. James Kramer, Wisconsin. Flybroad, Cody, Wyoming. Nancy Weems, good to see you here again. Hey man, this is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. We're getting ready to go live with another installment of the Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles. Just 3.5 minutes out until we go live with this one. Gonna be a killer show tonight. Jason and Rob have the whole crew fired up and ready to go. 25 degrees in North Jersey. Whoa, Taylor Ham can't even word that up. Big D checking in, Marengo, Illinois. Maryland, New Jersey. Oh man, we got such a great crowd from New Jersey. Just 3 minutes, man, we're going live. Make sure you hit the like and share button. That helps us get this program spread all over the motorcycle universe. I want to thank everyone over at Cycle Source Magazine and Chopper Town for carrying the feed. Just 3 minutes, we're going live. David Crum, good to see you here, man. Derek Taylor, Salisbury, North Carolina. I have so many stories from Salisbury, North Carolina, I can't even bring them up here. It's illegal. 2.5 minutes. Stick around. Oh wait, I gotta come back on and mention this. Warrnambool, Australia. That is awesome. So good to see you here, Tony. Hope you dig the show. Let us know. Tom Banks, rider number 21, Pittsburgh. What's up, brother Banks? Nice in Arkansas, Minnesota checking in. Hope you guys are busy in the garage somewhere. Somebody build something. Mesa, Arizona. I know it's not 20 some degrees in Mesa. 60. First time got 66 fired up. Adam Thompson right on. Sturgis, South Dakota. How many feet of snow are in Sturgis right now? That's what I want to know. 23 degrees in Cleveland. Boy, it's cold all over the country tonight. We're going to warm you up though with a great show here over the next hour with Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles. We're just about a minute out from going live. Stick around. Mike Pitts, Myrtle Beach. Good to see all you guys. Alabama in the house, mid-60s today. We're just 30 seconds out, man. I mean, I think that's good enough time to get this thing out of the shed and up on the road. Take a ride down the way with the folks from Motorcycle Cannonball. Here we go.
Well, hey there, Cannonball Nation. What's happening? It's another Wednesday night. That means, yes, Cannonball Chronicles coming to you live. That's right. Beautiful day here. Been a beautiful week since our last episode. Been having a great time working on some stuff. We got a really, really great show for you guys tonight. Big fan, great rider, great all-around person. Him and his wife are going to join us tonight. We're going to learn something about another motorcycle that we haven't seen yet here on this show. Get to see a little something different, hear a little bit different stories, and that's what this is all about, the Cannonball Chronicles. So I'm joined tonight by my host, Mr. Robbie Nussbaum. What's happening, Robbie?
Howdy, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate this audience, and we got a lot of people who are here week after week. I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. That's what helps us make this show a success. And hopefully you tell some of your friends, share, hit that. What do we say, Jason? We say mash the like and share button.
Yeah, no, mash the share button.
Mash it. Right.
Mash it. Share it.
There you
Put
go.
it out there.
Tell all your friends, neighbors, relatives, citizens, countrymen, all that stuff. Get it out there. Get that information out. Speaking of information,
Right over here, you can put all your comments.
The other way. No,
whatever way.
We never do thumbs down. We do thumbs.
You can put all your comments on there. We check into them. We watch them. We see what's happening.
Here. There you go. I'll never be able to do weather on TV, ever.
Exactly. Hey, we had a good time last week doing some trivia too. So I got a couple of good questions for tonight that I'll see if I can stump you guys. How long it takes you to get them? So I think I got a pretty good one tonight to start out with. So
you want to do it now?
Should we just do it? Should we start the first trivia?
Yeah, why don't we start with that? Give them a chance to respond, and you and I can BS a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to know, what was the first model of Harley Davidson to have an electric start? You guys can tell me in the comments.
Know one.
No. You can't answer, Rebecca.
You're out.
You can.
That's not fair. I finally know the answer to one.
First one that I see pop up there on the side, I'll send you a Cannonball swag package. And so
Jason,
I see some answers there, but haven't seen anything yet.
You were talking about information. You shared some information this week. You want to let everybody know? Ryan, you're wrong.
I did. Yes. I think we did have a little bit of an announcement go out on the cross-country chase. We sent an email to all the prospective riders. So if you got on the chase website and you signed up for interest in the chase, we sent you an email here a day or two ago and let everybody know that the official chase, the Mac Daddy, the full event has been now postponed until 2022. There was just no way logistically that I could get it done and make it the event that it needs to be. Unfortunately, just working with hotels and cities and stuff like that, it just didn't work out. So anyway, we've got something else pretty cool planned. I'm trying my hardest to put together a mini chase, and that will happen at the beginning of the summer. So instead of doing a full-blown chase, we still want to put something out there for the event this year. So I'm actually going to fly out here in the next week and check out some of the prospective locations that we can have this little mini chase and still have a little competition with everybody and just get out there and let's ride our motorcycles. And I've got some tricks up my sleeve for this one. So hopefully we'll be able to put it together within the next couple of weeks, tell everybody where they can sign up and what the exact date, all that kind of stuff are going to be, because right now I just don't know. I mean, we're in the negotiation stages, but we're going to put something together.
Jason, Vinny Grasser says he was the first one to say 64 Cervicar.
That's it. So that was a tough one. I bet I could see everybody over there was saying, 65 FLH, panhead. But no, it's actually Cervicar was the first Harley Davidson model to have an electric start.
I did a 63 Cervicar for a customer, a full-on restoration. And in my course of my research, I went to a couple people who had some nice 63s, and they said everybody who bought a 63 was immediately pissed off the next year because they put the electric start on the Cervicar.
Right.
So Vinny's our winner. I don't know if Vinny's still on Mike Carson's boat or not, but I know he spent the week with the Carsons or a few days out at sea. So hopefully he's shaking off those sea legs and he's going to get a nice little gift bag.
Yeah, I'll send Vinny a message and send him some stuff in the mail.
There you go. So I have a little sad news to share here. One of my friends, Jerry Doring, passed away. I think a couple weeks ago. I just found out, so I don't have all the details, but he's the grandpappy of the Motorcyclepedia Museum, and also Ted Doring's father, who runs V-Twin Manufacturing. And Jerry was instrumental in the early days of getting us repro parts, and say whatever it is you want to say. I don't really care to hear it. If it wasn't for V-Twin, a lot of these bikes wouldn't be out there on the road today. So that being said, I had a lot of good times with Jerry. We had a lot of laughs. He was a wealth of knowledge and one of the foremost experts on Indian motorcycles that I ever met. In the early days, he knew everything there was to know about him. So he's going to be sorely missed. Jerry was a great guy and a great collector, and his personal collection is at Motorcyclepedia. They have the timeline that goes from, I believe, the very first Indian to the last Indian on display up there. So, and then they have a nice little display that's a tribute to Jerry too. So
Right.
he will be sorely missed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, very, very instrumental in V-Twin's success and also with Motorcyclepedia. So, that's a bummer.
And a funny guy, and a very funny guy. Real good man. Oh, the other thing that he used to do, I almost forgot to tell this, and this is very important. In the early days of the AMCA, he would come to the swap meets and he would buy things. Even if he didn't need them, he would buy them from some of the vendors because he wanted to make sure they come back. So Jerry was always good. People were always like, here comes Jerry, let me sell him something. But you'd have a nice time to chat with him. You'd learn a little bit, and he would buy stuff from you. So he was a big supporter, and they're still big supporters of the AMCA. So
Right. There was some more sad news in the old antique world this last week too, with the Hilltop Museum catching fire. Attila Shriver's collection there and on the border of Italy and Australia. I mean, just devastating pictures to really see that. And I mean, it seems like it happens to the nicest people, I mean, and then in a collection like that, it's, I still have a thing in my gut that just makes me sick looking at the pictures the last few days.
Elwood Rides here wants to know in Newburgh. Yes, in Newburgh, New York. That's where Motorcyclepedia is. Yeah, but I saw the pictures of that fire you were talking about, Jason, and it just looked so horrible. The devastation.
It is. I mean, 101s in there, and I mean, just holy grail type of stuff, and to see that, I mean, I just couldn't imagine what that family's going through,
Right. So I think it's time for us to move on a little bit here. We shared a little bit of information. Chris has some info on the Motorcyclepedia Museum, I think, up on screen. And then let's bring Rebecca in, and she can tell us that a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Perfect.
Wow.
There she is. Hey, Rebecca.
Yeah. Hey, that was a lot to follow. It's like, oh man, now I'm supposed to be all cheerful when you got me all depressed.
Well, we're sorry we brought you down, but you're bringing us up.
Oh, well, good.
You're the sunshine on the rainy day. Speaking of rainy day.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's a rainy day here in Texas. And for the second week in a row, I was super swamped with client videos from what I do to pay bills. And so I needed to pull something out of the vault for tonight's pictures worth 1,000 words. and the theme is rain.
Ooh.
So I can tell you about it, or we can play it and then I can tell you about it. How do you want me to do it?
Let's have a look.
Let's play.
Okay. All right.
Or you could tell us about it.
Or
I
you
can
can
tell you about it. Oh, there it goes.
I love the music selection for this.
It fits Clint's mood. Oh.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So Clint was actually a little aggravated with me for a few months after I did that video because it was the only time he had any issues with this bike during the 2016 Cannonball, and I just happened to stop and capture the moment. And if you notice, there was one point in the video where I was close to him and then I backed away from him for a little bit of a wide shot. That's because what you didn't see above where I was videoing his hands was him looking at me like, "What are you doing?"
You're doing your job.
Yes, that is my job, is to show up with a camera to stick in your face during those high stress moments. But later on, he kind of went back and watched it again. He goes, "Okay, yeah, it was kind of funny, but really, Rebecca, you could have gotten me any other time during the Cannonball when the bike was running great." I said, "Yeah, I know, but that doesn't make the cool story." But Clint is one of those guys that I personally just love being around him. He's just so great. He's a lot of fun. You never quite know what to expect from him, which is
Clint
part of
is
the
great.
fun.
He's great.
Yeah.
Did he get the bike running? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, he got the bike running. He made it in, but he was just, I was there at that moment when he was extra aggravated and really wasn't wanting somebody to stick a camera in his face. But like I said, he did forgive me, and he actually kind of likes the video now. So, but we everybody in Cannonball, we've always experienced these, we'll have a day of cruddy weather. In 2018, we had an exceptionally cruddy weather day that a few hardy souls rode, but most everybody got a bye day to go ahead and just pack up the bikes and go on to the next stop, because we had such torrential rains, and I'm sure Jason can talk more about this, but we had such torrential rains that the roads that we were supposed to go on had washed out in a few places from the heavy rains that they'd had in that area. Were we in Ohio? I can't remember.
I don't remember. Right? We have at least one of those dates.
I know.
Well, I know. What was it? Jamestown in 2018 was a washout. Jamestown to Ohio or something like that.
Was that it? Were we leaving Jamestown?
Oh, no. It was Binghamton to Jamestown.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Binghamton, New York to Jamestown, New York.
Yeah.
The home of Lucille Ball, by the way. For those of
Oh, I
you,
didn't know that.
yes, it's her hometown.
Oh.
Hey, I have a question here for those of you following the show. Let's see how many people can name the source media shows. Put it in that box off to the side. Type them in and see if you can tell us the name of the source media shows that we have here on the Source Media Network. Jason, you got another?
Should we do one more question?
Yeah. Why don't you do another one?
All right. Let me pull up the next one I was going to do. That one might be too easy. It might be too easy. We'll do it, and then I'll find another one. I'll do a really hard one. I'll look for one that we'll do by the end of the day. So I want to know the model of the Harley Davidson that had a shaft drive. There's only one model that was shaft driven as a Harley Davidson. You guys name it.
Rebecca knows that one.
No, I don't. I can Google the shit out of it, though.
I don't even know if it would come up in Google. I don't know.
It might not be. I don't know.
I get it.
I don't know.
I
Rob
get a kick.
Latham says he knows.
Always right in.
Oh my God! Look at all the answers that came in on that one. How many? Who was the first?
I think it was George Unruh, what I seen. I can't scroll back up, but they're coming in so fast.
Yeah, that was kind of easy, that one.
I told you that was an easy one. But I'm getting a kick out of Cole. He's always second.
Yeah. Cole Deister out there in Colorado. There it is, the Harley XA.
Hopefully, we'll see if he can get in the first one of these times. Got to be a little quicker on that. Mashing. It's all about mashing them buttons.
So I want to take a moment here to thank our talent coordinator, Marjorie Kleiman. Those of you who know her very well know her as Shadow. She's done a tremendous job in lining up our guests for these shows, and she gets together with everybody beforehand and runs them through the procedure of how to deal with the Zoom interface and try and make it a little easier on us. So I just want to give her a shout out, give a shout out to Chris Callan at Cycle Source and Source Media for doing all the things he does. And of course, all you people out there, especially Mike Podger from PEI, Prince Edward Island.
Oh yeah, don't forget about him.
Podger's there, Vinny's there. There's a lot of Cannonball people and a lot of other people. One guy wanted to know if he wanted to bring Harmony back, and if those of you following along, Harmony is an antique motorcycle meet here in our great state of New Jersey that is coming back, and it'll be here this June, I believe, late in June. So check your AMC magazines and you'll find out the dates. I can't wait for these meets to start up again. Hopefully we'll be ready to go this year.
Heck yeah.
But with that,
I'm ready.
Are you ready to meet one of our riders or our team tonight? This is going to be good.
Yeah, I'm anxious. This is going to be a great show.
All right. So with no further ado, let's bring them in.
Hey, Mike and Carey, what's happening?
Hey, Jason.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, good. Good to see you guys.
How you guys
Hello
been?
to all
Good?
the- Yeah, we've been good. Hanging out here in Iowa, watching the snow. It was nice today, so everything was muddy, but other than that,
Oh, good.
It's just
good. So for the
typical
people
Iowa.
that don't know, this is Mike and Carey Jensen. They're coming from with us from Nebraska. What part of Nebraska are you guys from?
we're actually in Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is just across the river from Omaha.
Oh, there. Yeah. That's right.
Yep.
For those of you following along at home, write that on your score sheets now. Council Bluffs, Iowa. That's the pin in the map.
There might be a test on this later. See if you guys are paying
Actually, that'll be the last quiz question of the show, Jason.
We got one right.
The only one we know.
Anyway, super excited to have you guys on tonight. Mike's a Cannonball rider. Your first Cannonball was just last year, the 2018 Cannonball.
Yes.
I kind of want to know a little bit about, let's start out of how you learned about the Cannonball, when that was. Let's kind of run down that timeline a little bit.
Well, I hooked up with, I work with Troy Anzalone, who was a mechanic for Dave Volnek in the 2016 Cannonball. And we went down to Kansas and hooked up with him for a couple days. I rode my modern motorcycle down there. Carey and I rode the modern motorcycle down there. So I had her hostage for several hours on the way home. We got a pretty good conversation and said, this is kind of something we'd be interested in doing. I'm not like a lot of the Cannonball people that I have a museum or a collection.
Not retired. He's still working.
Don't have a collection just to go out and choose another bike. So I ended up buying searching out a bike and one thing led to another. Here we are.
Well, let's talk about the search a little bit, because I always find these interesting of people of how they found a motorcycle and kind of why they picked that one. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, after Troy and Dave got home from the 2016 Cannonball, the rumor was we talked to them, met with them a couple different times. I work with Troy, so I talk to him every day at work, but we had this conversation that that's what we wanted to do. And a couple days, maybe a week later, they came up with the motorcycle that I ended up buying from Steve Klein and Klein Collections down in Georgetown, Texas.
Right.
Yeah, we just emailed back and forth, text message back and forth a few times, jumped in the truck, went down and picked it up. So it was
and prior, this was your first antique motorcycle that you bought, correct?
It is. It is. So it was
And ridden. Had never ridden on one either.
I mean, what's
Steve
the
Klein.
feeling of that thing? The first time you see it and the first time you touch it, and I mean,
oh, it's pretty terrifying. Yeah, it was a lot of money for me.
Right.
Steve Klein put me on a 1914 Harley belt drive, which I think he does everybody that comes to his house. And
right.
He should probably explain where the brakes are at on those things before he just sends you down the highway. But we managed. He followed us in an Indian sidecar with the video and laughing all the way. So we had a good time. Thanks to Steve and Joan for allowing us to buy that. He's a good old Iowa. Actually, they're both good old Iowa people. So we had a connection.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah. So you get this thing in the truck and you're going home. I mean, what's the thoughts going through your head of like, oh man, what do I got to do next? I mean, you're new, you're jumping into this thing feet first, and don't. I mean, you've never owned a bike or never been around them, never ridden them. I mean, I'm kind of curious to know, like,
Can I comment
for you,
on that?
oh
Yeah.
shit, or,
Yeah, oh shit was a big word. Yeah.
It was all we talked about for the next 18 months, from my perspective.
oh yeah, right.
Where to get parts, what he needed, a schedule, a timeline, and how to make it happen. Became an
Right.
obsession, for sure.
I was very lucky. Troy Anzalone, who went with me and Dave in 2018, knew a machinist here in town, Bob Alf. And Troy's literally a mechanical genius. He doesn't care if it's a motorcycle, a rototiller, or a boat motor. it's going to perform at its best. And that's the kind of guy he is. I was very fortunate to have that team.
I mean, just watching some of that guy's redneck, parking lot fixes, he's a good mechanic and a good machinist, and
he's a genius.
Really skilled at what he does. So,
yeah. I believe in 2016 he might have welded a skirt on a cylinder, and I believe they made the rest of the ride with a welded cylinder.
The Germans,
right? Yeah, I think that was one of the fixes on 16. I seen a cylinder cracked all the way in half, and they welded the thing back up and filed it and put it back on the road. I mean, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
He is, that's for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the timeline. I mean, you got the thing, you're going through it. What are some of the things that you had to do to get this thing roadworthy?
Well, according to Steve Klein, this thing had hung in that t-shirt shop in Austin, Texas for 7 or 8 years. He bought it, had never even tried to start it. I have since then talked to the previous owner, and he bought it on a estate auction. He never tried to start it. As near as we can tell, it had been repainted in the 60s sometime, which was basically an airless sprayer. So it was an original paint bike. So that wasn't really a concern, which I'm really glad that's kind of where it came out at. We tore every nut and bolt out of this thing, learned how things worked as we took them apart, figured out what we needed, where we could get it, how we could make it. Everything from brake pads, brake assemblies to wheels, tires, to get to the end. We had 50 miles on it before we left. We couldn't ride it about 10 miles. Every time we rode it, we took it out trying to get the oil pump adjusted. We'd ride it for 5-10 miles at a time, and so the intake valve pockets would blow out of the motor or something was going on. So we literally had 50 miles on it when we left home. A couple weeks before we left, Dave's bike was up and running and sounding good, and he'd done it before. So at that point, I didn't think mine was even worth putting in the trailer. I said, just leave it home. We'll go support Dave on this one. I'll learn how this game works, and we'll go along for the ride. But that wasn't acceptable.
So you got literally 50 miles on this thing when you show up to the parking lot in Portland, Oregon. I'm going to kind of get to where we're going here in a second, but I mean, I want to know 50 miles on a bike and you're sitting Portland, Oregon, or at Bug Light Park where we start, and you're around all these guys that probably got 1,000 miles, everything else. I mean, what's going through your mind?
I don't stand a chance in hell. What in the world am I doing here? But you know what? Everybody was great. The whole situation was a great time. Everybody was very welcoming. Everybody stopped by to look. I mean, I unloaded the bike in Portland, Maine, and still had to wire the headlight and the brake light and the tail light. So we were out thinking around with that, and everybody stopped by to look. It is a good looking bike, and it drew a lot of attention.
Right. I mean, for the people that know out there, I mean, this is a 1914 Excelsior. I mean, it's not like a lot of the Harleys and Indians that you see. I mean, these things are very, very hard to get parts for. And, you know.
Yeah. We went through multiple sets of flywheels just trying to find flywheels that weren't cracked. And
Right.
we
I think you
we ended up.
Didn't you have to get some flywheels custom manufactured for that thing just because you couldn't find them?
I couldn't find good ones that weren't stress cracked. We actually had them built. Actually, I shouldn't say built. We had them cast with Bruce Argetsinger, and he's in New Jersey. I think a lot of you guys probably know Bruce. I didn't know him. He advertised.
Enfield Racing, right? Is that it?
Yeah, he advertised in the AMCA magazine that he made these flywheels, and we thought that was a solution. So we sent him some parts. He looked at them for a couple weeks, took him to the foundry, made some molds, took them to the foundry, had fresh ones cast. So that's where I learned a lot of patience over this deal. Nothing happens overnight.
That's for sure. That is for sure. So, well, let's talk about the Cannonball experience. I mean, we learned that you're scared shitless at the start because you got 50 miles on this thing, and let's just kind of go from day 1 to day 16 of how you felt and how you did.
Well, day 1 was the 10-mile prologue. First of all, I didn't know if we were going to get there, but I followed everybody else down to where we were going. We actually drove down to Bug Light Park on the coast in Maine before we took the bikes down, so we had some idea where we we're going. The whole picture, the 360-degree picture that Michael Lichter does, was quite an experience. Seeing everybody there, everybody lined up, meeting a lot of people. It was a great experience. We did make it back to town, or back up to did the start, made it back to the motel, basically, which was the end point for the first day. In rush hour traffic, I had no idea. I mean, I had 50 miles on this thing. It's my first foot clutch, hand shift bike. It was a challenge. We were wondering what the heck we were doing. I don't know, what was it, second or third day we got rained out. Things seemed to get a little better. It was interesting to watch the motor break in. Everything came together. Everything sounded good.
Obviously, like you're getting more and more comfortable as time goes on.
Right. Getting adjusted to how to ride it, how to make things work. I always heard, don't run high RPMs, don't lug, so I'm trying to pay attention to that. We got, I don't know, over into Ohio. I think we got rained out. We were talking about that earlier. Got rained out one day. Dave is doing well, so we had our team was still going, so that worked out.
Mike, let me ask you a question. We haven't mentioned what the bike is yet. What were you riding?
It's a 1916 Excelsior.
1916.
It's a V-twin with a 3-speed.
You sent us some pictures of this. Maybe we can go through the pictures and we'll talk to you a little bit about them.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
What are we looking at here?
That's the doctor's bag, and it's a legitimate antique doctor's bag that the kids bought Mike for Christmas, the Christmas before the Cannonball. It has the monogram on it even, and he oiled that up and used it. It's actually mounted to the bike, and I'll let him tell you what's inside of it.
Basically, my battery is in there. I had a good place for hat, gloves, and coats. It was just a storage, just a good saddlebag to have along.
Whose idea was it to come up with a doctor's bag? Is it just the situation presented itself, or
Well,
what's the story
my
behind it?
youngest boy, his girlfriend is in the medical field, and she thought it would really be neat to have a doctor's bag on the back of that, because she reviewed some pictures and done some research, and she came up with the doctor's bag and gave it to me for Christmas. So there wasn't any way it couldn't go on the ride.
We looked for them at the swap meets and not found anything that was truly that old, that wasn't already decaying. So
Right. And
that
that's
was
a
the
large
answer.
one, which is nice. So it fits the
Yeah.
bike nicely.
And
Yeah.
it held up. It held up extremely well.
What else do we have in pictures here? Let's scroll through some more. Tell us about them as they come up a little bit.
Well, that's my perfect mileage coin, which I was really excited and unbelievable that I even achieved that goal.
So after your rocky start, you wound up having perfect score.
Yeah, we
Nice.
had almost a flawless run. Couple of minor issues.
Excellent.
We did a lot of maintenance to make it the next day work better. So that's the beginning of my Ace sticker collection.
Explain to people who don't know what an Ace sticker is. What's the significance behind that?
You receive an Ace sticker for every successful day when you complete all the miles.
So completing all the miles is you didn't break down, you didn't stop, you got from point A to point B on the day and
On each
completed
day.
all the miles for every day.
Got all the miles
And
for
you
every
got-
day.
What's that, Jason?
And you got there on time with no penalty points for the day.
Right.
Yes.
We've got
Perfect
a long
score.
list of different penalty points that you can get while you're out on the course.
So just learning the whole scroll was an interesting concept too, but this is a Linkert carburetor. Everybody has a big fancy linkage on that. We like to put a quarter on there, so everything's quarter choke. It's kind of hard to see behind the shift lever, but that's what we made work.
Nice. And we have some pictures of the bike, I believe. There we go. Tell us about this photo.
That was at Bug Lake Park when I had no idea what I was getting in for.
And that's Portland, Maine?
That's Portland, Maine, yes.
Right.
That was the starting day. I think that was Michael Lichter's picture day, so.
Nice. And what's going on here?
Well, that's my acetylene fired headlight. I put an LED bulb and a socket in it so that we could be road legal, street legal.
You didn't want to use acetylene on this ride?
I was worried about refilling it.
So tell us a little bit about the acetylene light, a little history on that. When you say acetylene, what is it you mean by that?
Well, the original bike, the way it came from the factory with the light kit on it, had an acetylene tank that actually was actually banded to the handlebars. Then it had a hose that ran up to the headlight, and you would light the flame in that headlight and basically open the glass, light the flame, adjust the flame so it would stay lit, and then close the gas, and you'd be able to take off. So
Kind of like a big lantern.
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
So
And I have all that stuff. It all came with the bike.
I'm sorry. Do you have the original acetylene tank for that bike?
Yeah, I do. And this headlight came on it. Everything was complete. It was a complete bike. It hadn't ran, they're estimating, in 40 years, but at least it was a complete bike. So it was a great thing to start with.
I understand there were terms in order for Steve Klein to sell you this bike. Is there any truth to that rumor?
Well, he said he'd sell me the bike. He wanted to ride the bike on the Cannonball. I think a year or so prior to that, he'd crashed a gyrocopter or something, so he wasn't going to be able to do it. He said the only way he'd sell me the bike is if I promised to do the Cannonball.
Well, it sounds like you made good on your promise.
Well, unfortunately for him, that was my goal, was to do the Cannonball. So he didn't want a collector to have it.
At the time.
Steve
Tell us
wasn't
about-
interested in a collector having it sitting on the shelf somewhere. He wanted somebody to get out and ride it.
Ride it.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
we had a good
How
connection.
many Excelsiors were in 2018?
I believe there was 3. There may have been more.
Hey, that's a good question.
Yeah,
3 or
well,
4.
so it was you,
Jeff Loritzen rode one.
Jeff had one, right?
Yeah, Jeff rode a 14, I believe it was. 13
That's
or
Jeff
14.
Loritzen, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
There was another guy that had lots of flat tires, and I didn't ever really get to meet him.
Oh yeah, that was
Chris, bring that picture
Mark.
back.
Oh,
That last picture that was up there. This was at the end of the Cannonball in 2018, right?
That was their completion. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about your emotions at this point and what it was like getting there that last day.
Well, the first couple days, I had no idea what I was in for, so it was just terrifying. And then it steadily got worse every day.
The pressure builds the whole time.
Yeah, it
I had
does.
no business making the first day complete, let alone the 16th day. So every day it just seemed like the pressure got a little more. The last day, it was, I think, a 52-mile day. We took off just like we did every morning. I got out 25 miles. The bike coasts to a stop on the 4-lane interstate. I guess it was the interstate. Started searching things over, looking for issues, checking for spark, to find out that my oil drain plug had came out, and I absolutely ran it out of oil.
Oops.
We change the oil every 50 or 60 miles all the way across the country. Every time we got gas, we'd drain the oil, pump more in to the motor. And I had 25 miles to go, and I didn't think I was going to make it.
All right,
We
Mike,
filled
this is a good point to stop you, and you're going to come back and tell us the rest of the story. But right now we got a break for commercial. But when we come back, you can tell us the rest of the story and how it is you made it to the finish line. Okay,
Perfect.
so we're going to break now. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Stick with us. Stay with us here on Cannonball Chronicles.
Hey, little voodoo child, you got me running wild. You make me feel like, ooh, the devil in my dreams dancing in front of me. Maybe
One of the things I want to show you today is our new improved engine puller.
We put Heim joints in the hand to allow rotation of the engine, which makes it easier to get it in and out of the frame. And over here we have what's called the Posi Lock, which allows this to be locked in place and the engine can't swing from side to side.
George is actually going to come in, make contact with the cylinders, tighten it down, he's going to pull it out of there. It's just that easy. We really feel that we have the tool, the best it's been, where we really feel strong about what it can do in the marketplace. Visit BanksBrothersMotorcycles.com to order your Banks lift.
And we're back at the Banks Brothers Gas Services Incorporated Studios, coming to you live, Cannonball Nation. We were just talking with our guests, Mike and Carey Jensen, and Mike's going to come back and finish his story about being stuck on the side of the road about 12 miles out on the last day.
Not to mention, it's a perfect score.
And he's running a perfect score, exactly.
I mean,
so no pressure, no pressure at all in that situation. Of course, as soon as I pulled over, a lot of the helpers pulled over with me, you know, trying to get traffic to merge, slow down, whatever, give us room to work on the bike, which is extremely helpful. We found out that the oil drain plug had fallen off. We change the oil every 50 or 60 miles all the way across the country. For some reason that night, I must not have tightened it up, and we ran the motor out of oil.
And do you think that's why the motor quit? Was because it was, I mean, it didn't, did it lock up or?
Got hot, I'm sure.
Yep, it locked up, rolled to a stop on the interstate.
So,
I drove by him about that point in time on the shoulder.
oh, I mean, that's got to be heartbreaking.
Didn't know what happened. That was the first time that had happened, that I had to ride by him.
And of course, she couldn't stop. So, of course, I didn't see her go by because I was focusing on what's going on. I was probably sitting on the side of the road for 15 or 20 minutes, figuring things out, gathering thoughts, checking sparks, points, whatever.
Oh boy.
For some reason, I had another drain plug in my saddlebag. I
You
have
just
no idea
happen
why.
to have one.
Just happened to have one. Pulled it out of my saddlebag, put it on, pumped some oil in the motor, pushed it over with my hand and the Kickstarter a couple times, and it tried to go. So I kickstarted it, and away we went.
Nice.
So when we made it to the final point, it was absolute complete mental exhaustion.
Carey, were you amazed to see him pull in?
Yes, because after I drove by him, I immediately texted the mechanic and said, I just passed him on the side of the road. Have you heard from him? I don't know what's wrong. And he said, I haven't heard a word from him. I waited about 30 minutes. I texted him again, and he said, I never heard from him. So I didn't know anything while I was waiting at the end point, whether or not he made it. And then all of a sudden,
the shortest
he rolled
day,
up.
the shortest day with the most trauma.
Yeah,
Supposed to be the
free by
easiest
then, right?
day. I'm just gonna roll right into town.
Yeah. The anxiety was high, very high at that point.
So,
I can imagine.
Jason, tell everybody what the typical day is and what the last day mileage wise goes to.
So typically, a normal day on the Cannonball will be anywhere from, say, on an average of 215 miles to 300, 310 miles on an average, depending on, you know, what the average speeds are, the terrains. There's a lot of factors of how we figure out mileages per day. But typically on the very last day, you know, we let the rider sleep in, and we do a 9, 10 o'clock start in the morning, real late. And we try to keep it to anywhere from 50 to 100 miles for the last day, just kind of a little walk in the park, nice little stroll. And that's
Yeah.
gonna make it too difficult. I mean, because the goal is we want everybody to cross that finish line. So hopefully by then everybody's got their problems worked out and all that kind of stuff. So we, just want an easy, nice, relaxed day. I mean, it's been 2 weeks of, like you said, mental anxiety and
Pure hell.
Hell.
Exhaustion.
Pure hell.
But
And
as
I
Mike
can't
found
wait
out,
to do it again.
you can have these situations on the last day. I mean, I've seen it with him and I've seen it with a few other people that, something happens, and it could happen 1 mile before the finish line. You never know what, with these old machines, what could happen.
What's your team name? You guys have a name for your team? What is that?
Team Overtime. I'm
Tell
actually
us
a
about-
lineman for the power company. So it's kind of a play on words. I worked a lot of overtime to pay for this trip and the motorcycle and the parts, putting it together. But it's also neat to see a 1916 overtime run in 2018.
Oh, that's a very good pun right there. Carey,
Okay.
I want to talk about what's your background and how'd you get involved with all this craziness, and what made you decide you wanted to go along and do this, and what was your job?
I did not want to go along, so I did not think that he needed me or that it would be any fun at all. I thought I would be bored, have a lot of downtime. I took my bike, I took books, never touched any of it. In fact, they wanted to throw my bike out about halfway across, but you barely have any downtime at all. You're the gopher, the backup. If they called during the day and said, we need parts, we went to get them. We filled the gas cans. We were in charge of groceries, laundry, everything. So I was more the coordinator and then a backup driver for the truck and trailer. Because if the mechanic wasn't with me driving, then I was the driver and they would take off. They brought a couple of little fun bikes to go ride on too. So we kind of tag team driving with Troy the mechanic and Bob the machinist. So
What was your typical day, Carey?
Well, we got the less scenic route than the riders did. They always had the great routes. One of the logistic things I wanted to explain was us a route, and we are not allowed to cross paths with the riders. So we stick to the route that they give us, and it is not a GPS, map it on your phone. They print it out in probably an 80-page booklet that we have to flip through as we go, much like the riders have to do the turn by turn with the scroll. So that we don't know where they are and they don't know where we are, so we can't intersect each other. So you really had to stay the course, even if it didn't seem like it made sense to be on that route. There was a reason why we were on it. But there was a day where we spent near Emmitsburg, Iowa, as we crossed Iowa, just trying to find an implement dealer to buy all of the chain and links that they had, because one of their issues was the chain getting rusty. So they were changing the chain every single night. So we might be chasing down parts just wherever we might be able to find it. There was no shopping, no naps, none of that stuff.
She got up and made.
Rebecca, can we cut to Rebecca for a second, Chris?
Sure.
I happen to have 2018 instruction books for the route, so we can all have flashbacks together here.
Yeah, it was nothing modern for us either in that respect. You almost needed a navigator to read it to you as you went. Back in the old days of MapQuest.
Carey, I have something I want to share with you here. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. Mine's back
So,
up here
I've-
in the frame
I've always-
behind us.
I always say there's two races going on. Can you relate to that?
Yes, 100%. It's
So tell
for
us what
amateur
the second
drivers
race
like
is
me.
besides the Cannonball.
It is amateur drivers like me in a truck and a 20-foot trailer trying to get in the parking lot first so I can park that rig without having to back it up. That's my race. Yeah.
And she did great.
I didn't wreck anything. That's about all I can take credit for. I didn't hit anyone else. I never got stuck anywhere. I consider that a win.
She did a great job. We never could have done it without her. I can't tell you how many loaves of bread and peanut butter and honey sandwiches she made for us.
Every day. That was breakfast.
I have to remember that on the next one.
Come on over.
I love sandwiches.
Rolling the scroll. She loaded the scroll every day.
Mike, tell our viewers tell our viewers about the term total loss.
Well, the goal of these old motors was it spit out as much oil as it was supposed to receive. So the goal is to have the oil pump set where you can ride 40, 50, 60 miles and end up with the same amount of oil that you started with. In the meantime, it's blowing it out on the road, which is why it's a total loss. So you got to make sure your oil pump pumps enough oil to keep oil in the crankcase.
Yeah, so for those viewers who are unfamiliar with what that means is there's no recirculating oil system in these bikes. So these oil pumps, if they're not set right, you have to hand pump them, or you have to make sure that you're not overfeeding it. So there's kind of an art to the whole thing.
Yeah, we figured ours out. We figured ours out that about every 20 miles, I'd give it another pump of oil. And each pump of oil was about 3/4 of an ounce. And usually I was pretty close at 50, 60, 70 miles when I drained it to what I started with. So
you're not just a rider, you're a scientist too. And you play one on television now.
Exactly. Well, and then you get off the route a little ways, maybe to make a wrong turn, and then you're a mathematician too, trying to keep track of your miles. And
explain why you'd be a mathematician to the folks at home.
Well, if your scroll is
turn
by turn directions by miles down to the 10th. So if you make too many laps around the gas station, making sure everything works, you can be 3/10 of a mile off on your next turn, which puts you about 1/4 of a mile down the road from where you should have turned. Now you're a 1/2 mile off, and it can continue to add up throughout the day. So the art of the scroll is conquering the scroll is a pretty good challenge too. It's not just riding. It's not just listening to that motor hum. You got to be on your game.
Did you have any particular anxiety level days? Is there one that stands out in particular to you? Well, besides losing all your oil. Okay, let's put that as number one.
That's got to be top. Yeah. We rode when we came into Cedar Rapids, we had a lot of clunking and a lot of banging going on. I wasn't sure what it was. And we were at the Indian factory. No.
The next day.
The next day. So we were at the Indian factory. But what we diagnosed or what we figured out was that I was running old sprockets on new chains, and my chains would get so hot that they'd burn the grease out of the links, and they'd be completely covered and saturated in rust by the end of the day. So our solution to that was put a new chain on every day.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. Primary chain.
Oh, dang.
So let's go back to that last picture, Chris Callan, if we could, our engineer extraordinaire. If I'm not mistaken, that's not an Excelsior right there, is it?
Hey, I did the best. I did the best I could to find a bike, an old bike with a scroll map. Give me a break.
Okay, I thought that was a picture he supplied, so I thought maybe there was a surprise in store.
I think we did supply a squirrel picture though, didn't you?
I think
No?
Michael Lecter took one, and I think it might have got weeded out throughout the pictures.
No?
Well,
There
see,
I'm replacing the primary chain every day.
there
Yeah,
it is.
there it is.
That's the modern version of the scroll.
And that's turn by turn.
It
So
does take
there's
a
a-
little bit of getting used to on these things. You know, some people do struggle with it. Even in, like you said, even I do sometimes. I mean, you take a couple turns to take some pictures, or you stop to get some barbecue, or you know, do something, and now your thing's off, and you
Yeah, but see, you
Go
have an
down-
advantage because you know where you're going. You know where to be at the end of the day.
I go by the map.
You've rode an antique motorcycle more than twice.
Yeah.
He also knows where we were.
Well, let's talk about what holds the future with the Jensens. You guys are signed up for the 2021 Cannonball. Tell us what you're doing to get prepared for that. And are you
Well,
the question? Are you going to be riding the same bike? Or are you doing something different?
Can I answer that?
yeah.
I asked him why he wouldn't ride the same bike again. And he said, because there's no challenge in that. And I said, there's not a challenge in having the same bike make it twice. And he said, no, there wasn't. So he's bought another bike, and I'll let him tell it from there.
So it's not that it's not another challenge, but the bike's proved what we set out to prove. I couldn't ask any more out of it. But since then, I've bought a 1909 single cylinder belt drive Excelsior. I'm not so sure that I'm going to get that together. That's a lot. It wasn't a complete bike. It's turning out to be a tremendous amount of work. Trying to find things, trying to round stuff up. So at this point, I am paid. I am signed up for the 2021. I'm not so sure if I'm going to get the 1909 together, or if I'm just going to tear down the 16 and freshen it up and
Well,
make a
that
few
sets
improvements
us
on
up to
that.
come back and see you again and see what your progress is, right?
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be great.
Yeah. So you don't have any pictures to show us, or the bike isn't anywhere nearby that we can see the 1909, or what?
You know, actually, we were going to try and do this at the shop. At my son's house is where we work on everything. And the internet signal wasn't strong enough out there, so we ended up doing it at the office here at home. So
Well, Jordy says that you spent his inheritance.
that's my daughter.
Oh, your daughter. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jordy says he spent my inheritance on that 1909.
She'll get plenty. Don't worry about it.
We'll let her ride it.
Hey, so let's. This was the first time that I've heard about this 1909. I'm kind of curious of where you found it, and give us a little bit of story.
So we're in Sturgis on 18 Cannonball. It's a day off. A lot of people mingling around where we were parked. I believe you probably know, Jason, but I think it was a panhead run or something that went through town.
CA road run.
Yeah.
Okay, some kind of road run, and
Right.
there was a guy on the road run from St. Louis that stopped by the trailer, and he said, "I'm not going to bother you with it now, but I might have something you're interested in. Why don't you give me a call when you get home?" So I waited. Oh, I don't know, 30 days or so. Gave him a call just to see, basically to meet the guy, to figure out if he was legit or not. And we ended up going down there looking at a few old bikes that he had. I chose the 1909 against Dave and Troy's recommendation. He also had a 14 Indian that was complete. So my thought process was, it's the same amount of work. to make another one run. If my goal is to do it again, it'd be nice to be in the running.
Right. Heck yeah. I know a little bit about the 1909 Excelsior. It's an extremely tough bike to find parts for, but if you get it, the thing can be very, very reliable at the same time too.
Oh
So
yes, 16 is so much easier. 1916 is so much easier to find parts for.
It's like a Cadillac compared to what this thing's gonna be.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's
Right.
all atmospheric
Yeah,
intake.
We're working on a couple singles here at the shop right now. I can relate to what you're saying. There's a lot of engineering going on here right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of wheels turning and a lot of gears grinding. So Jason, if
Uh-huh.
you got any 1909 parts you're
Yeah.
interested in getting rid of,
Send
let me
this
know.
way.
well, I've owned a few 1909, 1910 motors, and it's tough stuff to find. It's tough stuff to
Yeah.
find.
They're so small.
We're finding the same problems with the flywheels, so we're gonna have a similar
We're
go-to
making
on
our own.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
We've
Can't
been
find
forced
them.
to make our own. So that's
One
It's
thing the
almost what you
guy,
gotta do with those now.
one thing Bruce Argetsinger did when I guess he's an expert on metal.
Bruce is
Instead of
sharp.
pouring them in ductile or pouring them in cast iron, he poured them in ductile iron, which I guess is 8 to 9 times stronger than cast iron. So far they've worked out well, and we'll give it a test in this 1909. If it's not this year, it'll be the next Cannonball. So
Well, that's great. Bruce was willing to do that for you.
yeah, he really went out of his way to help.
He's a hell of a good guy. Enfield Racing or Rubber Ducky or
Yeah.
Mold Threads. Mold Threads is his
Mold
company
Threads.
up in Connecticut.
Branford, Connecticut, I believe it is.
Yeah, either
And this
there
wasn't
or
anything he was into. It was just a
outside
challenge for him.
Bridgeport somewhere.
Yeah, it was a challenge for him too. So we appreciate all the work and effort he put into it.
Well, Bruce, and 2018 at the start, he came up to Maine because some people had some troubles with some magneto caps,
Right.
and he made them and ran them up there. So if anybody needed a cap, so I mean that's the kind of guy Bruce is. He jumped in his truck and came up and took care of his customers. You know.
He wanted to hear my bike run too.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. So, well, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show tonight and hanging out with us. It was a really, really great show. Hopefully, we'll get to see some progress of what you guys are putting together there, and I'm excited to see you guys on the next run here in September. Another thing we actually put it out to the public yesterday of the official dates of the Motorcycle Cannonball this September. So
Right.
you guys can check out on the Motorcycle Cannonball Facebook page, website, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be releasing a lot of good information over the next couple of weeks on the event. Yeah, before we leave, Mike, is there anything that you guys would like to say or give a shout out to?
Jason, I'd really like to thank you and Leanne for babysitting us all the way across the country, answering our stupid text messages and answering all our dumb questions when we can't get checked into the motel.
Yeah.
Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. So I really appreciate you guys going out of your way to make everything as great as it can be. It's a life-changing experience, and it's a great adventure.
We appreciate it. It's people like you that make us want to do it every day and keep on it and keep it going. So we haven't ran into any bad people yet.
You know what's really funny, and before we lose them, is how many wives get roped into doing this and then wind up part of the family and say that they had a great time. Would you say that's the case for you, Carey?
100%. I caught myself trying to negotiate with the guy that we bought the 1909 from to make it happen. After I was the one that said, this is our budget, this is all we can do, we'll just have to walk away. And then I'm in there thinking, okay, I can figure out this, and you can spend this
That's
much
funny.
now. And I thought, what happened?
Well, see, Cole
Plus-
Deister, who was on with us at one point, he's the Grim Reaper,
Yeah.
Grim Sweeper. He
Right.
and I have a word for the women in the Cannonball, and they're supposed to be the voice of reason,
I've lost complete control.
or the VOR. Would you still consider yourself the VOR?
I have to say yes. I have
You're
to
kinda-
say yes.
Yeah, you're kind of sucked in now, so maybe you're not the
Right.
voice of reason anymore.
Yeah, I would hate to see miss it. There was no way we would have made the 2020 with the 1909. So COVID has kind of helped us in that respect. So
That's not the first time
be
we're hearing
cracking the
that with
whip.
these singles.
yeah, we'll be cracking the whip at home to get it done.
All right. Well, good luck with that, guys.
Yeah, thanks for your show. I enjoy watching it every week. Can't wait to tune in.
Well, thank you for being such great guests. We really appreciate you being on with us tonight. Jason, you got anything else you want to bring up?
No, I want to just thank everybody for tuning in this week. Another great show. We've got another great show for you guys next week. I'll bring you some more trivia, some more videos, some more pictures.
Well, there is
We'll talk
one more. There is one more quick trivia that I don't know if you got. Do you have anything else up your sleeve? Because there is one other question we alluded to earlier in the show. See if anybody was paying attention.
Yeah, let's run it out there real quick.
Where
If you were paying attention at the beginning of the show, answer where our guests were from. What hometown are they from?
Oh,
Man,
oh yeah, I can't.
I forgot already. So
Okay, I won't say
it ain't
anything.
horse related. I can't remember it.
And then I want to say thanks to Source Media. Oh, by the way, Sunday night, Jason, you're going to be there, right? Sunday night.
Yeah.
Sunday night.
Oh, I forgot all about it.
Source Media on Shop Talk, Sunday night, 9:00 Eastern Time. The hosts of Cannonball Chronicles, Cyberswap, I believe Cyberswap, Shop Talk, and Coast to Coast with Chris Simmons and Michael Lichter. We're all going to be the guests that night, and we're going to talk about the year in review of the coming up with these shows and what our thoughts and well, basically what our thoughts are on how it's gone so far. So those of you out there, please tune in Sunday night, 9:00 Eastern Time. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. It'd be nice to actually talk with some of the other hosts that we don't get to talk with. So,
Yeah, I'm excited.
It will be fun.
so do we have anybody? Do we have an answer yet? Chris Callan, you see anything?
Don't see it.
I seen it. It looked like it was Trisha Chance.
Oh,
There
I
you
missed
go.
it.
So
All right. Well, Chris Callan, thank you for everything you do. I can't wait to do it for Sunday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
all right,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys next week.
Good night, everybody.
Stay cool.
Yeah.